Redline Logbook here for chapter 31 of Wistoria. And we start off actually in a flashback with Elfie and Will as little kids. Elfie's actually explaining her dream. We've heard it before where she wants to see a sunset, but to see a sunset you have to go far, past many dangers and trials. And so she says the two of them need to learn as much magic as possible. Will thinks she's at her most beautiful when she's talking about her dream, but even at this age Will already knows he can't use magic, and so he tries to tell her that she's gonna have to do this on her own, but Elfie pushes Will down and says, no, this dream cannot be fulfilled unless we're both there. So at this point, she basically forces him to promise he'll be with her when she fulfills her dream to see a sunset. Then Will wakes up because this was a dream, and he was remembering the past. He then says to himself, it's been 5 years, but I can fulfill our promise. But she's also currently just woke up from bed, and she has a very sad look on her face, telling me that this promise hasn't actually been fulfilled yet. We then jump over to the entire team, excluding Will, and they're all currently getting their uniforms for the tower. It heavily implies that every single uniform for the tower is made by one family, the Lesser family, running the Lesser tailor shop, and it's currently on a 10th head, Blattner. To put in perspective just how long 10 generations is, in the real world, Gen Alpha, the generation born after Gen Z, is 10 generations after the American Civil War, which was 160 years ago. Now that's impressive if a family business going for over 160 years. The most distinct part about these uniforms is that they're completely white. There's no color to them whatsoever, and that is on purpose. In fact, they're even referred to as colorless uniforms. They're all super excited except for Julius, who's just staring at himself in the mirror all angry like. Clennette wants to figure out what's going on, but he screams at her, and her response is to jump and hit him in the head. Which, by the way, that's pretty good reflexes to have. Get scared, punch. That's what you should do. After this, Leanna then explains to Clennette why he's so mad. And the simple fact is that she was picked for the Earth faction, Leanna was picked for the Lightning faction, Thom was picked for the Fire faction, Yagner was picked for the Elf faction, and Julius got nothing. So he's extremely stressed and scared. He knows something that we don't at the moment, but it's something serious. Anyway, they're all grateful they got their uniforms, and they head off to the tower, where they're going to wait for Will. Why is that? Because Will is currently at Doran's place. Yeah, so Will needed a new sword. So Doran decided to take his old sword, melt it down, and reforge it. Dawn added something called Whist to it. It's this purple jewel that, when applied to the sword, gives it a faint purple hue to it. The reason why is because the metal that the sword is already made of is able to cancel out magic. We already knew that. But now that it has the Whist in it, it can now absorb that magic. So it might actually be possible for Will to use magic that he steals from other mages. Combine that with the simple fact that he already has the ability to be a magic swordsman. This just means Will could be almost unstoppable at this point. Well, if his opponent is strong enough, that is. The power of his magic sword is determined by how powerful the magic he's absorbing is. Will then tries to pay for the new sword, but Dawn is like, no. This is a gift for your graduation. Congratulations. And then Will goes off to join his friends at the tower who are waiting for him. Crowley is the one there to greet them, and she's all excited. She's also kind of snickering at what's about to happen. She opens up the tower for them, they all go in, and they're standing in a dark room with nothing around. So what happens next is, clearly the inside of the tower is much bigger than the outside. That is the only way to describe what's about to happen. And it's heavily indicated that it's the phantasmagory of the elves that does it. So what happens is she waves her wand, the ground that they're standing on basically turns into an elevator, it starts moving up, and the ceiling opens up. And they enter what she refers to as the first floor, the colorless floor. And she's not kidding. This floor is completely white. Everything. The buildings, the roads, the signs. Everything is white. The only thing that has color are the people, the animals, and the plants. Oh, and the first floor also has its own sky. So I guess there's some blue. But other than that, it is just a giant white room. And then Kirui says this is where all of you will be living. Well, if you're lucky enough to stay. And she's very eerie about that, which means there's going to be a set of trials going forward that will either get you kicked out or let you stay. Point is, she starts to give them a tour. They walk around, and they see other people in white uniforms doing research, studying magic plants, studying magical animals, involving themselves in alchemy. All kinds of stuff is just happening all around them. And Clennette is freaking out, all excited and happy, because this has been her dream since she was a child, to be able to just witness the brilliance of magic at its forefront. This is the place that new spells are constantly being made, and this is the place that she has always wished to be a part of. She's basically a magic geek, and she's freaking out about it. She even points out there's a crepe shop, and the first thing Leanna does is activate all of her magic so she can then speed over there in an instant and buy 5 crepe. Now, I assumed that she'd be buying them for her friends and her, but then I realized, wait, no. there's 6 of her group, which means she bought all those crepes for herself. In fact, Will even asked, has she always been a glutton? And apparently, yes, she has. Yagner was surprised the first time he saw it too, but she does gorge herself on food. Eventually, they're all taken to a cathedral, and inside they meet the head of the upper college, a man named Kreutz. But what's even more important is that they get to meet the 5 Magiwanda. They just ascend from above. And as you can imagine, all the students start freaking out about this, because this is probably the first time they've seen any of them, except for Yagner and Will. Yagner's all happy that he gets to see his childhood friend. Unfortunately for him, Eleanor just looks away and huffs, so it's unclear how that relationship is going to go. As for Elfie, she still has that sad face she had when she woke up, and Will finally sees it, and he actually gets confused at this moment, because this should be the moment they can see each other again. Kiri, of course, bows to the Magiwanda and greets them properly. Kiriet apparently was her junior, and so he decides to slight her at this moment by telling her that he's bored and he wants her to speed up the process. At this moment, she then reminds him that he was her junior, and then his response is, well, I got to where I am because of a mean senior of mine who pushed me. So basically the two of them just like screwing with each other. Kiri and then Logway glare at each other, which is a weird thing to say because we never actually get to see Kiri's eyes, and Logway apparently is blind. But yes, they glare at each other. Which means whatever disgrace Logwell is involved with that caused him to lose his eyes most likely involves Kirui in some way. Kirui then starts moving forward as she was asked and declares that those who have been selected will now receive their colors. So anyone that has already been handpicked to join a faction, their uniforms then magically transform into the color of that faction. So Thon's turns red, Glennet turns brown, Yagner's turns green, Liana's turns yellow, and they also get their own faction's crest added to their chest as well. But both Julius and Will have no color. Julius saw this coming, but Will is stunned. He actually looks at Elfie, who can't even look him in the eye, because this means he wasn't selected. Elfie didn't pick Will to join her faction. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, give a thumbs up so you can enjoy more Wistoria and other amazing things. Thank you, and have a great day.